I don't know how good a team we've got. I really don't. I don't sit here and proclaim that we've got some unbelievable team, but I do think our team believes in each other. We connect. We step up when we need to step up. That was Kirby Smart after Georgia's win over Auburn on Saturday in a very loud and hard to hear post game media session that we were in on Saturday after Georgia's game with Auburn. There was a lot of celebration going on for the Dogs, and I will explain it real quick. The locker room for Georgia, literally the next door, is where we do the press availability, and it's really not a great setup. But often you get the most real comments from Kirby I found after the Auburn game and at Auburn. And I don't know if it's because he's right there. He's not having to walk. He's not having to think. He's not having to do anything. He just spills into the area where he does his post game, and that's what he said. I don't know how good a team we've got, and I don't think anybody does. I think he's telling the truth, and I think that it seems like through the years, the place that he's told the most truth has been at Auburn. In 2019, he had a very fired up speech after Georgia left there with a 21-14 win over Auburn, and you know it has been a challenging season so far, which is odd to say for a team that or program that is winning all of their games by 10 points or more, with the exception of one of them. So I don't know, but it has been not the season that people want. But Georgia, you don't sometimes you don't get to choose what kind of season you're going to have. Sometimes you have to go out and do it. And that's the part that Georgia's in the middle of right now. And I think for Kirby and them, the real challenge right now, obviously, this week immediately is beating Kentucky. You beat Kentucky, and I think things are in very good position. I think that if you get that done, you are in a totally commanding position to win the SEC East in a year where this league is not real strong. Doesn't look like it, at least. And, winning the SEC championship, even with a loss, is going to get you to the playoff. I mean, we have not seen the SEC champion miss the playoff ever. And in fact, we've seen twice in the playoffs, 9 years so far history, we've seen the SEC non-champion win the national championship. But I think, and I'm going to go through this in this video, I think there's some moments that people are forgetting about recent games. So everyone's comparing Georgia to the peak moments of 2022, and it's not been like that in 2022. It was not that way. So that's one thing that I want everybody to kind of remember, and I'm going to go through that in a second here. Get 50% off a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code DAWGFootball, DAWG football. Subject to change and terms apply. Make sure that y'all are taking advantage of this. 50% off from our friends at DoorDash. Y'all have seen this a lot. Double Dawgs still available. This is the Stetson Bennett signed version. I only have about 20 of these left. I've not been promoting them very much. But when you think about last season, the Kent State game, a game later against Missouri, they won that game by 4. Yikes. And then they kind of came back and settled down against Auburn, Vanderbilt, and then they were throttling the Gators before the third quarter where it wasn't so hot. A great game against Tennessee. And then this is the section of the schedule I feel like people forget, to be honest with you. The Mississippi State game. Not a great performance from Georgia. It was very workmanlike. And then the Kentucky game. They won that game by 10 on the road. And then Georgia Tech, another game where it wasn't great. Like, it was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't. So I think there's I just went through several of those games. Tech, Kentucky, State, Florida, Missouri, Kent State, half the regular season games, and I would say Samford too, they were not great. Now, they were solid wins. They were all, double-digit wins. But that people are wanting Georgia to absolutely slaughter people. They're wanting to come out fast and hard. I mean, well, yeah, you'd like that, but that's not always how, it goes. And this team controls its own destiny in every way. This is the first week that I've seen where their national championship odds have lowered. And that's something that, I think that's something that's the first time I've seen that this season. I am going to check the odds as I sit here and look. But look, I don't think we do know where Georgia's at right now with things. They are, so this line opened up at 17. It was at 16.5 yesterday. Now Georgia's a 15 to 14.5 point favorite over Kentucky. It's probably about right. I mean, I think I will take Georgia against the line this week. I think they'll play better at home. They will, they're just the better team. I'm not sure how great a matchup this is for Kentucky. So Georgia went from plus 250 to plus 300 to win the national championship. So they fell there a little bit. Michigan went from about plus 600 to plus 400. So their really nice performance against Nebraska has moved them up. Everybody's moved up a tick. But I don't know how much that has to do with Georgia. I don't know how much that has to do with their general situation. Obviously, after this week, the loser of Oklahoma, Texas, and Oklahoma's actually not real high, will move down. Like, for instance, if Texas loses to OU, which I don't think they will, I am still puzzled why. And I mean, it's whoever, it's your vote. You can do whatever you want to with it. I am not an AP top 25 voter. I'm just a Heisman voter. I really have to say, I don't know that I understand why someone would vote Florida State in at number one. That's a curious call to me. Hey, look, our friends at EcoPoly are making all this possible. 15% off of any order plus free shipping. This is one of the chairs that they've got coming out soon. Actually, it is out. That is a very comfortable chair for outdoor. You're going to have this for, I wouldn't say the rest of your life. Well, you might, though. It's a 20-year warranty, y'all. So take advantage of everything from EcoPoly that we've got for you. This is going to be a great weekend of college football. It's a great weekend to kick back in an EcoPoly chair in your backyard, your patio, or whatever you're grilling out. Maybe you're by your pool or by the lake, at the beach, whatever. This is going to be an awesome weekend. You've got Texas, Oklahoma immediately. You've got Georgia, Kentucky at night. In the middle, you get to watch Texas A&M and Alabama. And these are just back-to-back-to-backs. Notre Dame's at night. So there's a lot to see this weekend. But I think people are somewhat misremembering what this season was like. And they were completely dominant at times. There's no question now. They were completely dominant at times. They were not dominant, however, against several. I mean, that game was not over at the half against Kentucky, Kent State, Missouri, Florida. It seemed like it, but Florida came back in the third. Tennessee was probably over at the half. Auburn, Vanderbilt, they were over at the half. South Carolina, Vanderbilt, they were over at Oregon, they were over at the half. Well, I mean, Georgia played a lot of games so far this season that were over at the half, but two of them have not been, which were the two conference games. So I don't think it's time to not panic, but I think Kirby's right, and I'll read this. I'll read this right now. Again, I don't know how good a team we've got. I really don't. I don't sit here and proclaim we've got some unbelievable team, but I do think our team believes in each other. We connect and we step up. We need to step up. And he said again, we didn't play our best game, but we're a very resilient team. I'm very proud of the way we competed, and we've got to continue to get better. I mean, that's the most important for our team. So I think a lot of things we did wrong. A lot of things we did. I think a lot of things we did wrong. A lot of things we did well. We're not going to get where we want to go if we don't get better. Now that is completely true. And by the way, it's not like they can't fix their major problem. Their major problem at this moment is turnovers. And that is going to be something that costs them a game, maybe two. There's Mississippi is playing better. Missouri is undefeated. Kentucky is undefeated. Those three games and the trip to Knoxville, you've got opportunities to lose games. And so, Georgia Tech, I don't know what's going on in Atlanta. They took a major step backwards this past weekend with a loss to a non-Power 5 school by 10 or more, whatever it was. So the Jackets, that's rough right now. But, Georgia does not look like the superpower it's been. But I will tell you, there were plenty of times last season that people are blocking out of their brain. It is also possible, too, and this is the part that, Georgia fans really struggle with this part. Georgia can get better, too. Alabama did not have a good start to the season. Well, they've backed that up with now 2 really good performances. A humbling of Ole Miss, and then a total beating of Mississippi State. We're going to see with Bama if they are going to be, if they're going to totally control the West this week. They're a 3-point favorite, 3.5, 2.5 point favorite at A&M. That's a really important game. If Texas A&M grabs hold of the West, it could really be a total mess in the West. And LSU wouldn't be eliminated really in that scenario. But LSU has their own problems. Everybody in this league has lost except 3 teams. This is going off memory. Georgia, Missouri, and Kentucky. And one of the 2 of those, Georgia and Kentucky, is going to lose this week. And then Mizzou plays LSU. So there's a lot this week, that is going to narrow some things down. Missouri is a touchdown favorite. Is a touchdown dog at home against an LSU team that I just don't see how you can trust LSU in any way right now. What you can trust from Georgia is they'll fight you all the way. They might not start great, but they'll fight you all the way, and that's a good start for sure. And what Georgia needs to work on are better starts, but being undefeated is a very major feather in your cap right now in this league, and Georgia's going to have to figure out how to keep that going on Saturday against Kentucky.